All right.
All right, awesome. So we can go ahead and open up with our introduction here. You gentlemen both get 30 seconds. We'll start off with Mike.
Alright, sure. For those who don't know me, which is, I think, like 2 people in here, my name's Damon, also known as Massive Mike. I'm an Eastern Orthodox catechumen, so I will be defending the Eastern Orthodox position to the topic of what actually provides a moral justification. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Heavenly Dragon, for the challenge. Thank you, Avian, for the hosting, and everybody else who is in here. Really looking forward to it.
Woo woo. No problem. All right. Hello, my name is Bruce Nichols. I will be debating on half of atheism slash scientism and the belief of scientism that scientists bring morality. I am from America. I am Caribbean American, and that is my position.
Awesome. Well, we can go ahead and jump into our opening
Can
statements.
you say the claim one more time, like the beginning statement?
Don't worry, it's in my slide.
Okay.
Oh,
Let me just... Actually, that's going to be a great test. Let's see.
All right. Well, we can go ahead and open up with our opening statements here. And so, Mike, you
Everybody
got
see
the
those?
floor for 5 minutes.
Alright, give me a second. I'll let you know when I'm starting the timer. Just gotta get my stuff ready. By the way, I also had to get rid of about half of my presentation because it was much too long, so... And we'll see if I get through the entire presentation, we'll see.
You're looking
I'm
good, by
gonna
the way.
start... You too, man, good luck. Gonna start the timer right now, and I'm going to argue that theism does provide a better justification for objective ethics than atheism does. And I have a list of definitions here. I believe most of y'all are familiar with those. One I do want to highlight, which is objective morality, which means the theory that moral truths exist, and they do so independently of what individuals or societies think of them. Now, when we talk about what would grant justification for any ethical claim, we're looking at the field of meta-ethics. And as the quote says right here, meta-ethics is the attempt to understand the metaphysical, epistemological, semantic, and psychological presuppositions and commitments of moral thought, talk, and practice. In other words, what makes things moral or immoral? If my opponent would make a claim like God is immoral because X, Y, and Z, the underlying meta-ethical question is, well, what makes X, Y, and Z immoral? The meta-ethical framework from an Eastern Orthodox perspective, which is what I'm defending, would look kind of like the following. Premise 1, God is the good, and the ontological grounding of ethics, for goodness belongs to him by nature. Premise 2, creation receives its being, purpose, and proper end, aka telos, through the divine logi, which are the divine ideas through which God creates, in the logos. Premise 3, creation epistemically has access to these moral truths by the means of divine revelation revealed through the manifestations of God's divine energies. Premise 4, rational creatures are morally good when they freely act according to their God-given logos, and morally bad when acting in opposition to their logos or telos. So the conclusion here is, therefore, morality is objective because it is grounded in God and built into the metaphysical structure of reality. It's not just some invention by human opinion or some arbitrary command. So the first counter-argument I want to propose against atheism is the is-ought gap proposed by David Hume, which is going to be effective against a naturalistic position which I think my opponent is taking here. Which is as following. Premise 1, purely descriptive premises only state what is the case. Premise 2, a moral conclusion states what ought to be the case. Premise 3, a conclusion cannot validly contain a new kind of claim that is not present in the premises. And a conclusion, therefore a moral ought conclusion cannot be validly derived from purely descriptive is premises. In simple terms, you cannot get a moral ought from a physical material is. Moving on to the next argument, which is the metaphysical problem of atheistic morality. Premise 1. If God does not exist, morals are either grounded in the physical world, human minds, or impersonal
Mike,
abstract
are you
objects.
changing your slides?
Premise 2.
It's only
yeah.
showing that initial slide. I don't know if you have it on the big
Let's
screen,
see,
but
does this work?
Now we can see, yeah. That's it.
Alright. Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
We're starting the timer here. So the metaphysical problem of atheistic morality is as following. Premise 1, if God does not exist, morals are either grounded in the physical world, human minds, or impersonal abstract objects. Premise 2, moral propositions have no material quality in themselves, so the grounding cannot be physical. Premise 3, moral propositions grounded in human minds or opinions will be subjective. Premise 4, impersonal abstract objects have no directedness, normativity, intent, or epistemic justification for being universal. Therefore, moral objective values cannot be justified. If one were to say they just are, that would be ad hoc and a violation of the debate rules. Conclusion, atheism cannot give a metaphysical nor ontological justification for objective morals. The next one is the epistemic problem of atheistic morality. Premise 1, if God does not exist, then knowledge about moral truths is derived from personal notions, individual conclusions, or the majority position. Premise 2, there can be multiple contradictory positions or variance among moral beliefs. Premise 3, there would be no higher epistemic principle to determine which moral positions are correct. Conclusion, atheism cannot give an epistemic warrant for objective morality. The next argument is the argument from Telos, and it's the next full-fledged argument before I'm running out of time. Premise 1, every moral claim is directly linked to a specific telos or multiple teloi. A teloi or telos refers to the directedness of creation, a specific end goal. Premise 2, without God, the foundation of teloi would either be non-personal and would not act with specific intent, or would depend on the intent of individuals. Premise 3, if teloi are without intent and therefore random, then they do not serve an invariant objective purpose. Premise 4, if teloi are based in the minds of individuals, they are subjective. Premise 5, if teloi are subjective, morals themselves lack objective grounding. The conclusion, morals lack objective grounding within an atheistic paradigm. So to give a quick summary, there are specific characteristics when you look at objective moral truths, like normativity, like it being invariant, directedness, telos bound, universal. And theism can give an account for all of these characteristics, as I demonstrated in my slide about the Eastern Orthodox framework, while atheism cannot. And that's why I believe that theism gives a better account than the atheistic positions. I have a couple over here. I'm probably not able to get through any of them, so I'll yield the rest of my time, which is probably none.
Yeah, you're at it. You're out of time here, Mike. It's okay. I gave you a little bit extra time because I interrupted you, but you're on. You have the floor, Heavenly. Yeah, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. All right. So the reason why I think theism is not good with morality is because it does not. Because God is contradictory. And some verses, he kills people, or he ordered the killing of people in the previous chapter, in the old chapters. And then in the new chapter, he sacrifices his own son for sins. And some parts of the Bible is philosophical, is fallacious. It has fallacious intent, like floodings, natural causes of science, of the sciences. Also, God doesn't have understanding properly of the social sciences. I argue that everything must be studied before they make a conclusion. God made a conclusion that these things will happen. And in the Bible, even in the Bible, it says that these things will happen. And also, he claims that, he also claims that he made people in his own image. So when he says he made people in his own image, he is human himself. Because he gets jealous. He gets emotional. It's in the Bible that it says he gets jealous and he gets emotional. It says no God or no other gods before me, right? So in his emotions, he makes mistakes also, human mistakes. So that's another reason why I don't believe God has more morality and more ethics. Ethics was built on experience, on psychological studies, on hypotheses. Social science was created for that problem. We have international law that prevents invasions. We have people that fight against immoralities, not by God, because there's a problem, because there is an observation of it. Thank you. I yield my time.
All right. So now we're gonna go ahead and enter into phase 3 here, which will be rebuttals. So Mike, you have 5 minutes to rebuttal any of the claims from Heavenly Dragon here.
Your mic's off.
You're muted. Yeah.
I'm going to mute myself, sorry.
All right.
Here we go. All right. I'm going to start my timer right now. So, the claims that my opponent made were pretty much exactly what I expected him to do and what I also laid down in my opening statement. Is if you're going to list a number of actions that you would find personally unfavorable, and by the way, my opponent's opening statement does not follow the title of the debate, since the title of the debate is not whether Christianity provides a better basis, which I would argue, but whether theism provides a better basis. So, I mean, you can get rid of all the examples that you mentioned in the Bible throughout the Old Testament and the New Testament. You can throw all of this out of the window, and you still have a different debate topic than the one that you're actually going against. Maybe there's a God out there who doesn't do all of these things, right? So it's about general theism, but I'm more than happy to go into his points about specifically Christian theism. And the first point is, well, you listed all these examples of, well, these things are bad, God is commanding these things, God is doing those things, God feels a certain way when he was referring to anthropomorphic language that is being used in the Bible. The question is, what makes those things immoral or moral within your atheistic paradigm? It's about giving justification. Simply saying, well, these things are immoral, that's begging the question. That's circular. That's already assuming your position beforehand and not giving proper justification for that very position. That's why I pointed out why the meta-ethical beliefs are so important to have a grounding for. So going over all of his points, which I wrote down here, which because like God is contradictory to what he ought to be. Well, first of all, in philosophy, we call it an axiological mismatch expectation problems. God is contradictory according to what you think he should be like. What is the objective actual basis on what you use to determine that God is supposed to be like that? For example, if you're going to bring in the Bible and you're going to give an internal critique, but instead of using the internal moral standard, which is going to be God, you're sneaking in your own moral standards, well, then you're not giving an internal critique, then you're committing a fallacy. So, the points that my opponent brought up was that God kills people, God sacrifices his own son, there are natural causes, God gets jealous, God made a conclusion that things will happen, and so therefore Christianity does not give a proper meta-ethical structure. Well, again, the question is, what makes those things bad? And why would certain rules that apply to human people those very same rules apply to a god. For example, I can think of many instances where under human people that different ontologies determine different moral rules. For example, it would be immoral for me to go into the women's bathroom, depending because I have the ontology of a man, but it would not be that because for a woman. For the very same reason, if you have gods who has a different ontology, who has a different telos, who has a different logi, different moral rules will apply to him. So not just that, but also the understanding that God sacrifices his own son is supposed to be a bad thing. When this is the most beautiful thing throughout all of creation, throughout all of things, all of history that has happened. Because not only did humans make the grave mistake of sinning against God and condemning themselves, God actually sacrifices his own son for the love of people and for the overall good. Now, my opponent made the claim that God made people in his image, so he is human. Well, that's not what it means to be made in God's image. One thing that I didn't point out is that the fact that we are created in God's image is the very thing that gives us the possibility to even reason and even make any moral claims, whether it's in a metaphysical sense or an epistemological sense. Because unless we are made in His image and have some kind of access to universal moral rules, then you need to give a proper universal account about how your epistemic principle is going to guarantee something like that. He mentioned that ethics are built on experience studies and hypotheses, that we have laws to fight against immoralities. Well, those are claims, those are not actual arguments. So, I did not really hear an argument in this opening statement. I hear a lot of claims, so I hope to hear an argument somewhere along the lines of this debate, and my time just ended, I think.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Mike. All right, Heavenly, so you get to go ahead with your rebuttal. You have 5 minutes. You have the floor. Your mic is muted if you're trying to speak, Heavenly.
All right. So he said he thinks that God is doing the right thing. That he's a God and he should be untouched, unbothered. But in humanity, what is it? That's a form of narcissism. A form of narcissism discovered by science, psychology, psychiatry. It's treated as a mental health disease. Look, throughout the years, we didn't have psychology hundreds of thousands of years ago. We didn't have science hundreds of thousands of years ago. Now we have science, and we're slowly understanding that these problems are happening. We understand how the earth moves. We understand these things more than humanity understood anything before. Not because of God. Because before science, the church did what? They denied science. So, he said objective morality is independent based on God. And I say objective morality is created by people who not only observed what happened, but also applied the science. For instance, if somebody kills somebody, you get a psychologist trained in a university and an investigative psychologist. And he studies the killer. Right before the killer dies, they sit in a room with a psychologist. And the psychologist try to figure out how he thinks. See, that's my point. Science has always and will always have a theory to figure out things. Not like the Bible, which tells us that there's a person that knows everything. The Bible is full of assumptions. God is full of assumptions. And Christians, they believe God is goodness by nature, like God is all good. And I disagree. The reason why I disagree is because of science. And science tells us one thing. If we can find it, the answer to life, if we can find an answer to life, then we can find the answer to everything. God knows everything by the Christian religion. It says that God knows everything. It says God is loving, caring, and he does everything, and he knows everything. But what God would leave ignorance upon a population suffering? The suffering of animals, the suffering of people, starvation. God doesn't exist.
You got 30 seconds left, Heavenly.
Okay. To creation access divine revelation. So if God creates, he can create divine revelations to help certain people, to help himself, to make him better. So, think about it. Is God really worth it? Or is science the true and the only way to survive? Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Heavenly. All right, so you gentlemen are gonna now have cross-examination for 7.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, Mike, you go ahead.
And just to point out again that, you know, the rules do say that you're allowed to interrupt during cross-examination. It's not like I want to come across as rude or anything, but we are limited in time, so.
All right. You have the floor, Mike.
All right, let me start the timer real quick. First, I want to start off to ask a question. You mentioned that Christianity was detrimental to science. Can you give me a single historical scholar?
Wait. Closing and sources.
Cross-examination.
No. Where are you?
We're in phase 4.
Phase 4.
Yeah, this is all in the instructions.
It says closing and references disclosure.
That's after the cross-examinations, my friend.
Okay. Rebuttal and cross. Okay.
Yeah, I asked if we could do a cross-examination of 7.5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. We'll go ahead and restart the timers. You got Mike.
Here we go. So my first question is going to be, you mentioned that Christianity was detrimental to science. Can you name a single historical scholar who would say that?
Say it again, sorry.
Okay, name me a single historical scholar which would hold your position that Christianity is detrimental to science.
Not a scholar, because scholars dealt in philosophy. Science.
No, historical scholars, people who study history and look at the effects of Christianity on that. So the answer is no, you don't know any scholar. Have you ever read any of Stanley L. Jakey's works?
Oh, no,
Where he
no.
mentioned that religion, that Christianity, gave birth to modern science as we have it.
Oh, no. I don't know.
So then,
any
how do you
scholars
determine
who
that Christianity was bad for modern science?
I determined they killed scientists. Scientists wasn't accepted
Based on what?
until Charles Darwin.
Wait, based on what?
The church believed,
What's your source on that? I'm asking for your source. Because if you're going to appeal to historians and you say, well, historians can point out some bad examples in history, then I can appeal to historians and say, well, historians say that Christianity gave birth to science, that it was essential to modern science.
No, well, hold on. Historians are still examining.
Okay,
But
can you name me
the
one who is
information,
your position?
but the information that historians have,
I'll take that as a no to my question. So my next question is going to be, if you're going to list all these moral categories, like these things that God does are wrong, killing is wrong, raping is wrong, etc., what epistemic basis do you use to determine that?
the epistemic basis that I use to determine that is human emotions,
Human
how they
emotions.
felt. Yeah, human
So if a
emotions.
rapist is
and-
feeling pleasure while raping a woman or a small child, does that make it correct? So whose human emotion are we supposed to take here?
No, not only human emotions and science. There's a method.
What is the science?
measured.
Okay, can you give me the steps of the scientific method?
You form a hypothesis.
That's one
But
of them.
besides, yeah.
What
But
are the other
besides that,
steps?
it's irrelevant.
It is
It's
relevant
irrelevant.
because you brought up the fact that you regather morals and everything, that the foundation of that would be science. If there's nothing in the scientific method which actually gives you those moral values, then how do you know what is moral or not? If you don't know what the content is of the scientific method, then how do you know you're using the right science?
How can I explain this to you? Like, science found out, and also people. It's not just science; it's people, the emotions, their
Well, that's what I
suffering.
rebutted earlier,
Suffering.
because you cannot appeal to emotion. That's a fallacy.
Well, you can appeal to emotion and suffering.
Well, that's a fallacy. It's called an
Fine.
appeal to emotion fallacy.
Yeah, if someone's suffering, right? If somebody suffers,
But how do we,
and they
if
have,
somebody suffers, how does that tell you that it is morally wrong to cause suffering?
how because they're suffering. If you see somebody
Well, that's
suffering,
circular.
they're out on
That's
the,
circular.
on
That's
the,
not a justification.
it is because if you see
It is
somebody
circular, yeah,
suffering,
and that's a fallacy.
so if somebody beats on somebody ruthlessly,
Well, I'm asking you the question. You
like
can't ask me questions in the cross-examination.
no, I'm giving you example. As an example, and then an answer. I'm gonna give you example, and then I'm gonna give you an answer. If somebody
Okay.
beat on somebody ruthlessly,
Mhm.
and they feel emotion, they feel hurt.
Mhm.
Somebody is going to try to stop them.
Right, but just because somebody's trying to stop them does not have any influence on whether the actual is moral or not. Just because you observe something, which is the first argument which I made, which I didn't get a response to, is the is-ought gap. How are you getting a moral ought from a descriptive is?
Because it happens, and you don't want it to happen.
Because
You
it
don't want
happens?
people to. Yeah, it happens, and you don't want people to die.
Well,
You
all
don't want
kinds of
people to
things
be
happen.
hurt.
How do you get a moral ought from that? That's the question.
You're going to get morals from the destruction of their life. They will never be the same. They will.
Well, that's an observation, but where do you get the normative idea that, therefore, it is normative and binding that you ought not do this?
Because it's built on morality. It's built
Yeah,
on
but that's
a
begging the
set of
question.
rules.
That's circular.
It's-
It is
it's
immoral because it's built on your presuppositions of what is moral and what is not. For example, if there are two people, for example, which I mentioned in my opening statement, if you have multiple different positions about what people think is moral or not, how do you determine which one of the positions is correct if they're contradictory?
because it has to be investigated, and that's how science
Investigated
works.
by whom?
By the methods of science,
Well, I
by
asked
the
you for the
law.
scientific method, and you weren't able to give me the steps.
Of course, you know the scientific method,
Do
but
you?
you asking me, a person that's pro science, to tell you something that I already know.
Okay, where in the scientific method do you then get the moral conclusion? Where do you get the moral odds in the scientific method? Which step?
After the victim has been victimized.
Where in science do you suddenly get something where it's like, oh yeah, here we go, here's the moral value? Do you agree that scientific investigation relates to the empirical?
Like, okay, so in science we have social science, we
Wait, no,
have psychology.
yeah, all of those sciences still refer to and observe things that are purely observable material and empirical in nature. So where in the observable empirical nature do you get moral claims and moral facts?
You get morality after you do the research.
Well, that's just claiming that that is the case. Because somebody else can do the research and he's like, you know what? Maybe rape is good. Maybe we should start raping people. To, population getting kind of low. Maybe we should start raping people.
30 seconds, Mike.
Well, science wouldn't say that. They would say the exact opposite.
Well, science doesn't say anything. Scientists do. So how do you know that according to the scientific method, which does not deal with normative claims whatsoever, where you derive the proper normative claims from?
Well, you keep asking me, and I tell you, science observes what happened. It knows the effects of what
Yeah,
happened
how
and
do you
why
go
we
from
do
an
it.
observation to a normative odd claim? I think that's my time as
Because
well, by the way.
all right,
All right, Heavenly. You're gonna have your 7.5 minutes now. You can go ahead and address any of your questions now to Massive Mike for the cross-examination.
okay. Okay, so you say that God is divine
Yes.
and that he can make the rules in all these things. So if he make all the rules and things like that, is he a narcissist?
No.
So he clearly have. If I observe God scientifically, in psychology he has narcissistic traits. He has
How's
all
that?
these traits in correlation. Have you studied psychology?
No.
Okay, so that one you don't know. So I'm gonna go to
Wait,
the next.
where's the question, actually? I'm sorry to interrupt, but where's the question?
I just asked you. I said
If I study
the
psychology,
God.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Have you studied psychology? Yeah. And then
No?
before that, I said, do you think? Oh yeah, you answered that one. All right. So my next one is God. God claims all these things. He claims he know it all. He claims he have unending power. He claims he knows the universe. But science has astrology, astronomy. We create rockets to go to the moon, to places we never been before. And everything written in the Bible was written thousands of years ago.
Wait, I want to
So
appeal to
my
the moderator
question,
real quick. How is this question relevant to the topic of the debate about ethics?
Um, what's your question, Heavenly?
well, I was it was the bigger picture, right? So I'm turning the bigger picture into a smaller picture.
The bigger picture and the smaller picture, and it's
Yeah.
still relative to the theism providing a better
Yeah,
justification.
I haven't got to it yet. I'm pulling in a morality pretty soon, so I haven't
Okay.
gotten into it yet.
All right.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
Excuse me for being impatient.
okay, so on that fact that the vastness that science advance further than God, if something happens to someone, like they break their leg or somebody break their leg or something like that, how is it more moral to go to a church and seek health from being beaten than going to a doctor or a psychologist?
Well, that's a false dichotomy. You can do both.
I mean, let's look
Matter of
at,
fact, the reason why we have so many hospitals is because of Christianity.
okay, so I got two questions. I mean, not two
Mhm.
questions. I got two sides to one question in morality. If someone beats somebody
Mhm.
and God say he has all this power and knowledge, but he doesn't have the power and knowledge of human science or basic science, who can do more morality, God or science?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, I reject the claim that God cannot do science, that he's somehow limited. I think it's a straw man of what we believe God to be. And second of all, I do not think that you can do any moral stance from science alone. It only tells you about the empirical things, not about the normative things that you ought to follow.
Okay. In my notes, it says, you cannot get a moral conclusion, right? So in science, we do have scientists who has morals and can make moral conclusions. It's in a pseudoscience, it's in a social science gray area. But God claims morals with just the Bible and with propaganda and talks. How can you believe God has more morals than people that has experience in morality based on studies in science?
Well, because first of all, you cannot give a meta-ethical justification if you leave God out of the picture. And second of all, I do not believe that all of that is revealed as simply scripture. I believe in the totality of divine revelation, which does include scripture, but it includes much more than that. As a matter of fact, Romans 2 talks about that the law is written on the hearts of people. That's how everybody can have a decent, basic understanding about moral truths without having to even read a single page of the Bible. It's like I mentioned in my opening statement.
Okay. Uh, okay, guys, I only got like 5 minutes left, so I have to cut this part short. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
So
Yeah.
can
Okay.
we move
Yeah.
on to the next section?
We can go on
So
to
conclusions,
our
right?
closing statements and source disclosure. So,
Okay.
Mike, you have the floor. You got 3 minutes.
Yeah, so to conclude everything, I did not hear a response to any of the arguments that I made in my opening statement. I did not hear an objection to the Eastern Orthodox framework. I did not get a response back to any of the arguments that I made as a critique of the atheistic framework. And so the question still remains about how do we even give a justification for morality to begin with, and I do believe that the Eastern Orthodox paradigm does fulfill that role. Now, when it comes to the sources and citations, I gave some citations in my slides about definitions. When it comes to the Christology, excuse me, about the Eastern Orthodox position on these matters. Those will be from this, the early church fathers, some of the later church fathers, including John of Damascus, Gregory of Nyssa, Maximus the Confessor, the Is-Alt-Gap, as I mentioned in my opening statement, which referred to David Hume. For anybody interested who wants to read more upon some of the things that my opponent has brought up in debate about some possible Old Testament atrocities, I recommend the book Is God a Moral Monster by the author Paul Copan. I recommend some other historians like the one that I mentioned earlier, Stanley L. Jakey, who talks about the importance of Christianity and early science, etc. So, with that, I want to give one last thanks to my opponent and everybody who has been involved in this debate.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mike. All right.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, Heavenly, you got 3 minutes to close your statement and your source disclosure.
Okay. So I want to thank everybody for coming and stuff like that. And I got one chapter I put down here. It's the theological concept that humanity is uniquely designed to reflect God's character, agency, love in the world, and that says that's Genesis 1:27. I'm sorry about the low reference count that I have. I didn't have enough time to study, so. But I'll leave you with a few things. Study psychology, because that will help you a lot. And study the scientific method and debate more. So I can give you those things. And thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Heavenly. Well, it was a pleasure, gentlemen. Appreciate everyone for coming. And it was an honor here to moderate here for you, gentlemen. I think we had a great debate here. I really enjoyed it. I hope the audience enjoyed it as well. But thank you, everyone, for coming. It's been a blast.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting.
Yeah. Thank you. You people are amazing, and I hope to debate again. The next debate, you guys want to do capitalism versus communism or something like that?
So we do actually have a Q&A here for whoever wants to ask some additional questions.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know if you
Oh, yes,
That's
yes,
right,
yes.
yeah.
I forgot. Yeah. Go ahead. Open mic.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So I'm trying to based on the two positions that I saw, the two planes that I saw based on Mike's and Dragon's. I saw one using a way more logical framework, and then another one was using a more emotional framework. And it's kind of ironic that the theist was using the logical framework and the atheist was using the more emotional framework. So I will then I'll ask both of you guys, in terms of because obviously we were talking about morality, like obviously the whole time, and then we weren't, but then we kind of were at the same time. But based on that, um, is morality objective or subjective? I know Mike already kind of has a stance on this, but I kind of just want like a kind of to just kind of re uproot that part. Is morality objective or subjective? Whoever.
Okay.
Well, my answer is objective. I'll just keep
Yes.
it like that.
Okay.
Okay, I would say there's a percentage. I would say there's no perfect percentage depending on the situation.
I see. Okay. What's it? Okay, so you said percentage. What percentage would that be?
Depending on what the situation is, it could be 20%, it could be 30% subjective, or 60% objective.
Mhm.
It all depends.
Right. So could you give me an example of how it would be like 30%?
Okay, so let's just say if something happens, right? If somebody beat on somebody or something,
Mm-hmm.
some of it will be objective and some of it will be subjective. It's the combining of the two that gives it the full the full power. You want both.
Uh-huh.
In a framework, like I'm gonna say it like this, in a framework of both is your best option. It's like yin and yang. You know, you have yin and you have and yang type of concept.
Okay,
You need
so
both.
again, I'm very sorry. Generally trying to be on the same road with you.
Okay.
So you said that morality can be subjective. It's a percentage. It can be on and off. It gives some days it can be 20%, 30%. Based on what framework? What are you using to create those foundations?
Okay. There's people that see it, and then there's people that don't see it.
So yeah, so what you're talking about are experiences, which I understand. You're giving us situations, right, and circumstances. That's
Yeah.
fine, but circumstances are different to principles. So what's the principles behind it?
Like the principles behind it is I wouldn't say principles. I would say like the concept is yin and yang, right? You have people that see it and ignore it, and then you have people that knows what it is
Right,
and
right. Okay,
act upon it.
but using yin and yang is the reason why that's a bit dishonest to use is because yin and yang is the whole thing about cause and effect. So that's got nothing to do with morality itself. Because again, yin and
No,
yang is just talking about the causality of things and how when something comes, when there's an input, there's an output. But I'm talking about, and again, you keep giving me like circumstances, situations, examples, which is fine. But again, what is the principle? Because what is the foundation to it all? And this is the overall argument. For example, you know you have two hands right now, right? And you can use these two hands to either give someone a hug or choke someone until they die, right? But you know in your whatever you want to call it, that you know that one choice is better than the other, right? But
yeah,
I'm trying to figure out what is that like an 80%, that example I just gave you? Was that like a 20%? So what is the principle? What's the framework?
you can think about it, then you can do it. Then you can not do it and think about it.
So thinking about it and not doing it is less immoral than not doing and thinking about it.
It's it's very immoral if you do it.
So, but it's not immoral if you think about it.
I mean, I wouldn't
So
say
so if I go and rape someone, that's immoral. But if I think about raping someone, it's not that immoral. It's like 20% immoral.
no, no. That's very immoral if something is
So
happening.
okay, so sorry, sorry. So that's what I'm trying to ask you. So based on your thing, your claim is basically this: that every single person can have their own morality.
Yeah, I cede my time for this question.
Okay.
Okay. Does
I have
anyone else
maybe
have
one
any
more
other
reference
questions?
that I wanna give. It's philosophy for dummies.
Well,
Um,
I have to go
uh,
like I have to
okay,
go.
well that's it. It lays out some basic moral positions and some of the pros and cons. I think this is a great place for anybody who wants to start learning about philosophy and the moral domain.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you guys.
Any
I
other
gotta
questions
go.
for me?
Yeah, thank you, Heavenly.
Yeah, I have question for you.
Oh, let's go.
What
Bring it.
evidence, if presented, what evidence, if presented, would make you abandon your current position?
The logical impossibility or the logical improbability of my Eastern Orthodox framework.
Okay, can
What
I
about you,
ask
Henry?
question now? Can I ask the question now?
Yes, go
Sure.
ahead.
Yes, I have.
I said one
I
thing.
had.
I'm sorry, guys. I gotta go.
Okay, I had. I had question to Mike. Okay.
Awesome.
like just give me a second. Like in the Roman 9 chapter 9 verse 13, the King Jason version, there is written that as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hate. But like if we see the in the Christianity, we see that the God love his son, I mean the Esau. But in that thing, he is saying that I love Jacob, but I hate Esau. So, what do you say about that thing?
I really don't mean to be rude, but could you rephrase the question? It was a bit difficult to understand what you're saying.
Okay, okay. I am saying in the New Testament,
Uh-huh.
Romans chapter 9, verse 13.
Right.
Okay, there is written that as it is written that Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hate.
Mhm.
So, but we if we look like to the real belief that the gods love Esau more, like because he is his son, but here it is written that he hates Esau. I mean Jesus.
What's the question?
Okay, wait a second. I am sending you the thing. Just a
Oh,
second.
I'm asking for a question. You made a statement at the end. I didn't hear a question.
I am sending you in your personal, like because my English is not good.
That's fine. I mean, Romans 9:13. If
Hmm.
where it says Jacob I love, but Esau I hated.
Hmm.
Well, what's the question
But
about that? Is it about,
but
well, how can God hate somebody?
yes, first of these things, and the second thing is that like he is the son of the God according to you. So like how he can hate like his own son and like love someone else like the Jacob.
His what? Uso.
I think he's
I don't know
asking
about.
you right. The saying is he's asking how can God hate Esau but love Jacob? Like how can he be in a moral standpoint?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Paul is quoting Malachi 1 verse 2 to 3, where it is contrasting the origin between Israel and Jacob and even in Uso. So it's not like God hated Uso since he was a baby or whatever, or he predestined him to be hated or whatever. But love and hate is more being used as a kind of covenantal language. You see this in other places of the Bible as well. I need to get the exact verses on that as well. But where you have similar type of language, where it's not determining, where the language is not displaying immense hate or whatever, but it's simply drawing a contrast between two different things.
And also I had send you a picture like because my English is weak. Can you like check it and let me know what about these things? And also can you screen share it to so other people can see it?
Yeah, I can put it in the chat as well. Hold on. Wait, why did you put it? Wait, you can just put it in this side chat as well, so everybody can see it.
All right, guys, I'm back. Got some extra time because he didn't come in.
There are two maybe yes. Now what do you say about these things?
Well, what does this have to do with debate?
Like uh, yes, no. Like my main question is that like I think there are errors in that thing. Like if we see the second one in the Matthew chapter 1 verse 16, and Jacob bought Joseph the husband of Mary, who is called Christ, and in the Luke chapter 3 verse 23, now Jesus himself being his minister to about 30 years of age, being the son of Jesus and the son of Hila. Like how he can be the son of Hila and Jacob.
This has what to do with the debate?
He,
I mean, I'll answer your question, but this has
no,
what to do with the debate?
no. It's it's not related to debate. I am like I think that there are some errors in the things.
His claims is that there
I
are
just
contradictions. There are
Yeah, but it has
contradictions.
nothing to
yes.
do with the
Yeah.
debate, so I just wanted
There's
to point
nothing to
that
do with
out.
the
I mean,
debate. There's nothing to do with the debate.
I mean, I'm fine if you want to present contradictions, but if you look at one Matthew 1:16 and one Luke 3:23, they're drawing from different lineages. So you have one, which would be the one in Matthew 1, where Joseph fathers Jacob, and you have Luke chapter 3, where it's, the father of Joseph would be Haley. But Matthew gives Joseph's legal line, Luke is giving Mary's line. So you have the legal royal ancestry through Joseph, which is what Matthew is using to draw back to the prophecies in the book of Isaiah. Um, and then you have Luke, who's trying to trace the biologically ancestry through Mary.
Okay. Now, if we see the first image, 2 Samuel chapter 24 verse 9, the Jacob gave the sum of the number of the people of the king to the king, and there were Israel 800,000 valiant men who drawn the sword, and the men of Jacob were 500,000 men. And if we look to the other side, I mean the first promise, chapter 21, verse 5, then Jacob gave the sum of the number of the people to David. All Israel had 1,100,000 men who drawn the sword, and the Jacob had 470,000 men who drawn the sword. Like the both number are so many different, and they are talking about the 1 point,
There are two
or
different
it,
senses, buddy.
or it's like related to different time. My main question is that.
No, it's a different census. That's the point.
Okay.
You're not gonna have the same number if you're going to have two different census.
That should make it more credible, I would argue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Okay. Well, does anyone
Anyways,
have any other questions?
morality.
So I want to ask. Wait, no, it's not my turn to ask questions. It's the Q&A.
No, if you want to ask, like you want to ask to me.
Yeah, I actually do want to ask questions because
Okay.
if you're going to bring up Bible contradictions and then say that the faith is incorrect, then I want to know on what basis do you give justification for the law of non-contradiction?
Like I do not know much about these things. I just like doing some research on other things, and I found this thing and I saved it. And I would just want to clear these things, that what will you say about these things, the things that I am like thinking that they are errors, but that
But doesn't
was.
that require the law of non-contradiction to be true and justified?
But we can do the debate on that thing in future if you want.
Well, I'm asking you the question. You said you were okay with the question, so I'm asking you the question. If you want to bring forward some Bible contradictions, multiple ones, I mean, I'm okay with that. I don't believe that they're contradictions.
Okay.
But if you're going to do that, you need to give a justification for the law of non-contradiction itself. Because if your paradigm cannot account for that, then your argument falls apart.
Okay.
Even if you did find one.
Like I really not understanding what your mean. Can you type in the chat?
Contradictions require a logical law of non-contradiction. Right?
Okay.
How do you justify that from your worldview?
Like you mean that if there is some any error, there will be like thing that which has no error, right?
No, I'm asking. There's a rule in logic which says you cannot have
Yes.
a contradictory statement. You cannot have both A and non-A at the same time in the same way.
Yes.
What is the
Yes.
grounding for that rule within your paradigm?
Like I am really not understanding what you mean
Well,
because I
what
already
is
said
the
that
grounding? What makes this true in your world? What is the basis of
like
that?
on the things that I had sent you, the images and the errors that I was thinking on that thing.
Or do you still think they're errors?
No.
Ayo, ayo, yo, yo, yo.
Okay, well, I'm gonna wrap this up because I'm still recording here.
Awesome.
But it definitely was a pleasure, gentlemen. And I'll post this somewhere
Okay.
for you guys to watch.